Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. My name is Brendan Drum. I'm here with Parker Thune, and this podcast is powered by King.
Oh, do I take it from here?
Yeah, you take it from there every time, man.
All right. I guess this is the new rhythm, isn't it? I get the ad read. King, folks, is the greatest team to ever clean and a proud partner of OU Athletics. They deliver spotless results from stadiums to any size business across the country. You can visit them at janiking.com for unbeatable commercial cleaning services. Go Sooners, JANIKING.com. That's Janiking, again, the greatest team to ever clean. We're grateful for their partnership as the title sponsor of the OU Insider Under the Visor podcast. It's the bye week, Brandon. What's going on in your world?
Before we go there, we need to also make note. We know that there was a big storm in Oklahoma City, right?
Oh, yes, good point.
And it's unfortunate. We know that there was homes, cars destroyed, all that stuff, roofs in particular destroyed. Well, our friends at E2 Roofing are now they're licensed and insured. They're coming down from the Tulsa area. They're willing to help and give you guys a really, really good deal. All you have to do is call them and say, hey, look, we heard you. We heard about you on the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. We want to get our roof fixed. We know you're doing deals. We heard Parker and Brandon talking about it. All you have to do is call E2 Roofing Company at 918-212-4944. They'll come out. They'll do everything. They'll look it over. They'll give you a appraisal on it, all that type of stuff to see exactly what is wrong and fix it at a very, very reasonable cost. Again, call E2 Roofing Company, 918-212-4944. And our guy, Kyler Eckberg, and his boys will hook you guys up with a brand new roof or fix the roof that is damaged on your home. Again, E2 Roofing, 918-212-4944. Tell them OU Insider Under the Visor podcast sent you. All right, Parker,
Brandon.
Let's do it. OU Texas is next week. It's kind of a big deal, right? And Oklahoma seems to be getting more healthy. It sounds like Deion Burks, it's actually surprising to you and me, may be able to play.
I'm still skeptical, Brandon.
Me too.
But if he does play, that's great because, boy, do they need him. Do they need him right now with as ravaged as that wide receiver group is?
But we talked about it on the post-practice blitz that'll be dropping. Well, we'll have already dropped by the time people hear this, but what's your expectations of Jacobe Johnson? Like, do you think 3 weeks into this that he can actually be a formidable, threat?
He has to. He has to be a formidable threat because, Brandon, I'm sorry, you cannot beat Texas. You cannot hope to beat Texas. Maybe there's a world in which you beat Texas, but the roadmap for beating Texas does not include a guy like Zion Reagan's on the field for 50 snaps a game.
No.
Because he's going to get bullied by those Texas defensive backs. And that's no knock on Zion Reagan's. I think he's going to be a great player at the University of Oklahoma. And it's exciting to see him on the field so early, making an impact. But the point remains, Brandon, you are no longer going up against Temple and Tulane. You are going up against the number 2 team in the nation. And if one of the guys that you're trotting out there on a 3-down basis at wide receiver is a guy that's 5'8" and 150, that's just not a recipe for success. Jacobe Johnson is 6'2", 205, 210, somewhere in that vicinity. He is somebody that offers you the blend of size and speed and athletic ability to be a legitimate threat at all 3 levels. The question is he ready from a technique standpoint, from an intelligence standpoint? That remains to be seen, but his skill set is undeniable, and it's a skill set that you need going up
Yeah.
against this group of Texas defensive backs because they do have a solid secondary, Brand. They have a real solid secondary.
No, they do. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and obviously I talked about this on the post practice blitz a little bit, and they were so complimentary of Cam Coleman at Auburn, just his size, his speed, his ability, his strength for a freshman, right? And again, he's from that area, right? He born and raised in that region. I believe he's a Phoenix City kid.
Phoenix City,
So
Alabama. That's right.
yep. And it was a big deal when they got Cam Coleman. And I you got to get more guys like that. And I'm not saying they have to be 5 stars, right? I just think size wise, you've got to get more. I think the best thing that ever happened to Oklahoma during the Auburn game is the fact that JJ Hester found his confidence. Like that is huge, huge. And he's got underrated speed, by the way, something we've seen, right? Because he's beaten people deep already this season. He just didn't finish the play the way he should have and caught the ball.
Yeah.
Well, now he's doing that. He's making plays after the catch. If he can consistently do that, and you add Jacobe Johnson to that, now you've got two guys, 6'2, 6'3, 6'4, right? That can play. That can play to a lineup that it was devoid of that. The second, Jaden Gibson, the second, Jalil Farouk, the second, and Jalil Farouk's he's like 6'1, but like he's still a bigger guy than what they trotted out there recently. Um, you can go win ball games in the SEC with a bunch of 6'1 wide receivers
You
that
can.
are 195, 200 pounds. You cannot with 5'9, 145, 160 guys. You just can't. Like that's just in the Big 12, yes. In the SEC, no. So those are the type of body types that you've got to have come back. And I know that people around Jalil Farouk say that he's going to be back South Carolina, and that's like the goal date. I'm skeptical of that, but the person I talked to would know, and they were very adamant about it. So I'm not going to argue with them. My gut just says that that's seems a bit presumptuous, too positive, maybe, but we'll see. Um, anyways, but they got to get those guys back. Like you need a Jalil Farouk back. And granted, I know Dion Burks isn't the biggest guy, Parker, but he is thick, right? Like he's a muscular dude. Like he's not your typical 5'9" guy because he's got some power to him, right? For
Correct.
a guy his size. So that's where the difference is. Like the other guys that he's trotting out there, they just don't have that. That's why it's unfortunate that a Zion Kearney hasn't been able to step up and play. Very unfortunate because he could be a big help for Oklahoma if he could come out and play like a Mark Clayton. Like, but OU Texas always has. This is something I want to ask you. Every
Okay.
year, there's always a freshman that comes out of nowhere and makes the name for themselves. Last year, I wouldn't so much say Peyton Bowen and Nick Anderson were nobodies, but they were freshmen that the rest of the world didn't know until that game. And now everybody knows who they are. I know who you're going to say.
Do you?
Simple. Oh, I do.
Well, I mean, there's an
No, no, no,
obvious. Yeah.
no. Not Michael Hawkins cannot be chosen.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. So we're taking him off the table.
We're taking him off the table, but I still know who you're going to go with.
You do,
So
huh? You think so?
come on.
Eli
Yes.
Bowen.
Okay. You surprised me. You
Eli Bowen.
surprised me.
Here's
I thought
here's
you
what
were
I
going to
think,
take the other
Brandon.
softball.
Listen, here's what I think, and this is admittedly based on circumstantial evidence. For the very first time in his young career at Oklahoma, Eli Bowen got to talk to the media Wednesday night. Brent Venables selected Eli Bowen and
That's telling.
let the reporters speak to him. To me, that does not happen. I feel like Brian Windhorst here. I feel like the meme. Why would he do that? That does not happen in Brent Venables' world, at least from what we have come to know and expect covering
Mhm.
Oklahoma. Stuff like that doesn't happen unless the player in question is about to step into a larger role or already has. Eli Bowen played quite a bit against Auburn. He's seen his snap count gradually increase throughout the season. And I think it became evident in that Auburn game, Brandon, that he may very well be your best option at the position right now as a true freshman. So to me, I would not be shocked if you see 23 trot out there with the starting 11 against Texas. That would
I
not shock
expect
me in
it.
the slightest.
I expect it. I expect it. I we talked about this after the game on Saturday. We both were like, this dude's gonna be starting here very shortly. Like, I expect it to happen. And I expect it because he actually can play man to man coverage. Like, sure, he's gonna get beat at times, but let's be honest, Des Malone and Kanai Walker just got obliterated in man coverage.
I'll tell you, EA Sports College Football 25 loves them some Kanai Walker, though.
I could not believe that when I saw that. I haven't even played it since the update, so I'm interested to see what they did with Jackson Arnold and Michael Hawkins. Do we know what happened? Did Michael Hawkins get a bump?
Michael Hawkins is like a 76 now. I believe they
Is his
bumped him
speed
up four
ridiculous though?
points. That I don't know. I would hope
No,
so,
you would
but
hope so
I don't
because
know.
they gave Zerbrug like 90 speed, and we know
They
that's not
did.
real.
Can't count on anybody in EA knowing ball, apparently.
Yeah, yeah. So,
They did give Robert Spears Jennings a boost, which was great to see.
I like the
He
fake
deserves
running
it.
back. Yeah. Well, they gave him a what? An 83? Is that what you said?
I think he's up to 85.
85.
85.
That tracks. Is there anybody else that got a big bump? What about Jaden Jackson? He had to have gotten a big bump,
He
right?
did. He did. I
Mm.
think that they moved him up 7, 8 points. I
What
think he
about
was
R.
a
Mason
71
Thomas?
before. Now he's like a 79. I can't recall if they did anything with our Mason Thomas,
If they
but
didn't do anything with the guy that leads the SEC in sacks, they're stupid.
I would agree. But again,
They're stupid.
does anyone at EA know
I get
ball?
it. I get it. I get it. We've totally digressed off the pattern. The way to go with the EA Sports Talk, Parker.
I know
All
we're in a
right.
rabbit hole. By the
Yeah,
way, I'm just now
that's a bad rabbit
realizing
hole for me and you.
if you're
Um,
watching this podcast on YouTube, this right here emphasizes how important good lighting is because I look like a completely different person in the pallor of a hotel room than I do when I'm at home in the
well,
studio with professional lighting. I'm looking at myself going, man, do I really look like this? Ugh.
no, no. We both look. If you're watching, we both look like we're high, but we're not. We're both just absolutely miserable. Like I just got done being sick, and now allergies are killing me. Um, I was worthless for about 48 hours, almost 72 hours, just absolutely worthless. It was the worst. Oh, I wish that on nobody. And then the allergies kicked in, and Parker looks the same with the allergies. One eye is swollen, my left eye is swollen, your right eye is swollen.
Yeah, I'm
So
struggling.
good times, good times. All right. So you've got Eli Bowen. I thought you were going to take Taylor Tatum. I
I
really
know you
did.
did. I know you
Because
did.
you talked him up on the post practice blitz. It's like this has got to happen with this guy and this and this, and then you threw
Well,
me a
and to
curveball.
me, like, yeah, I mean, I think Taylor Tatum's performance is crucial for Oklahoma in this football game. I think both of those guys need to step up in a big way.
Mhm.
Eli Bowen's going to have to play very well. Taylor Tatum's going to have to play very well. There's a lot on the shoulders of three true freshmen in
Yeah,
particular, and you can throw Jaden Jackson into that mix
yeah.
too.
I was actually going to
But
say he's going to be the guy that I think surprises the nation, not because of his sacks or anything like that, but I think the announcers talk him up because he's doing his job in the middle. I think he's been really dang good this year, bro. Like really good for Oklahoma, particularly in the run game. I expect him to make some plays in the run game. I think overall the name that is going to become a household name after for Oklahoma, again, excluding Michael Hawkins, is Robert Spears Jennings or R. Mason Thomas. I think those are the two guys everybody walks away and goes, we knew about Danny Stutzman. We knew about Billy Bowman. We knew about Peyton Bowen. But those, and we knew about Ethan Downs. I think everybody knows those names. They've been around forever. They've made plays in OU, Texas. College football world knows who they are. I think R. Mason Thomas, Robert Spears Jennings become household names. I think they make plays and big plays for Oklahoma next Saturday. It's got to happen. It's got to happen. They have to play big, Parker. I know Taylor Tatum has to. Like, we talked about this on the post practice blitz, right? Like, OU has to run the ball well.
I I ask this question once a year in advance of this game because it is far too trivial to ask at any other juncture. But in this game, every single little thing matters. If you win the toss, you want the ball first. You want to let Texas have it first.
I think if you're BV, you let Texas have it because I think you want to show them once again that I think you want to show Sark that you own him mentally. Because I think that's look, let's go back to that 49-0 game, right? Did the defense play bad that
Why?
game?
Why
No,
would
no,
you
no.
feel
I
the
want to
need to go
ask you. I
back
want to
there?
ask you. You remember the game though. Did the defense play bad?
It did very poorly.
Did they play bad because they were on the field the whole time though?
That was certainly a contributing factor.
Okay. Leading up before they got tired, what happened on the first few drives? They stopped them, right?
Well, Texas had a couple scoring drives. Oklahoma forced a couple of punts, as I
Correct.
recall.
They
Woody
played much
Washington
better.
almost had a pick, which would have been huge for the
Yes,
momentum of that game, but it didn't happen.
it didn't happen. So, but those things now happen for Oklahoma, right? The things that didn't happen in 22 happen. And if those things happen, and I know we're playing if, ands, and buts and all that type of stuff.
Gosh, was it 2020 or was it 2021 where Patrick Fields was dropping an interception literally every week?
It was, who was this now?
Patrick Fields.
That was
You remember
21.
that? Okay, yeah. I couldn't remember. I just remember there was a run of like 4 or 5 weeks straight where Patrick Fields had an interception dropped right in his lap and
Yes, that was 21.
biffed it
That
every
is
time.
unfortunate.
But
Very
yeah,
unfortunate to hear.
Oklahoma's being opportunistic on defense
Yes.
in 2024. They're making those plays when those plays are there.
And again, I think that's defenses like what Oklahoma plays has been. And look, I want Texas fans don't take this as me saying BV owns Sark because he doesn't. Okay, he's 1-1 versus him. I think that's a ridiculous statement. Now, who won the game when Sark was the OC with Clemson? I know the answer. I'm just being facetious at this point. Um, wasn't it Clemson in 2019?
Sark would have been the OC at what, Alabama at that point?
Wasn't he in 2019 or was that Kiffin then?
Gosh, I can't recall. I know Sark was the OC in 2020.
Hold on. I know
And
that. Now that team was stupid good.
yeah, that team
Now,
was ridiculous.
um,
Honestly, the
I'm
only
finding
team that
out
might have, by the season's end, the only team that might have given that squad a run for their money was Oklahoma.
2019 was, what are you talking about, that 2020 team? Yeah, that
Yeah.
2020 Oklahoma team was really good. They unfortunately had injuries, and they weren't even injuries. They had suspensions that cost them that season with Ramondre Stevenson and Ronnie Perkins. Could you imagine that? If they just had them the whole season that year, did they win the national title? Did they play for the national title that year?
In the words of Stephen A. Smith, stay off the weed.
What? Playing for a national title?
No,
Oh,
I was
because they
talking
got
about the
suspended for weed.
yes, I was talking
Holy
about the reason
crap,
for the
dude. I
suspension.
am like so lost right now. I got you. Yes, because they did get suspended. All right.
Yeah,
By the
they
way,
probably play for a
Sarkeesian,
national title.
yes.
They wouldn't have beaten Alabama that year,
No,
but
nobody would have
they
beaten
would have given
Alabama
them a
that
game.
year.
They
Nobody
would have
would have
given them
beaten
a game.
Alabama that year. By the way, 2019, he was the OC when they lost in the Natty to Clemson. So,
The Natty was
anyways,
Clemson LSU. 2019.
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking 29. That was the 2020 national title because it was January, whatever,
Correct.
2020 is what. So I'm
Correct.
talking 29. Okay. So I'm still off. Okay. There we go. It was Kiffin, obviously, that was there, and it wasn't Sark. So, um, I digress.
You do?
Um, yeah, he was in 2018, he was the Atlanta Falcons OC. So, anyways, but my point being is what I was getting to is that it's those aggressive style defenses though that really they sometimes because Sark likes to he's such a good schemer, right? Like he is. He's an amazing schemer. He will get you in situations. I've talked to Casey Thompson about this before when he was training my kids, and I asked him like, "What makes Sark so good?" And he's like, "That dude can scheme you in with motions and shifts, and he'll set you up 5, 6 plays before that, and you don't even realize it's happening." And the one thing Venables is he's such a savant. He sees that stuff coming. That's the difference in Venables and like almost every other, right? Defensive coordinator. I think Kirby Smart, Brent Venables, is there somebody else out there that you can think of off the top of your head that outside of Nick Saban, because he's not there, that is just that ahead of their game when it comes to defensive schemes?
No. I mean,
I mean, that's it, right?
those are the two guys on top
And
of the world.
that I think that's where Sark sometimes when he goes head to head, he tries to get too cute. He tried to get too cute last year with that screen, like the tunnel screen on 4th and 1, instead of just one more time trying to power through it or running a pop pass or play action, right? Like he tried to get too cute and it cost him against a fast defense. Like you don't do that against a fast defense and a long rangy fast defense. So um I think Sark learned from last season's game. I think it's going to be more interesting, but I also think Oklahoma is better defensively, which is going to make it. And I don't think Texas is as good offensively. Is that fair to say as they were last year? Or do you think they're better? Skill wise, do you think they're as good? I mean, they lost some dudes on offense.
Yeah, I don't think they're quite as good. They're still formidable. Like to
Yeah.
say they're not quite as good is
No,
really
no, no, no.
no
I no,
substantial knock at all.
no, it's not a knock at all. I think people need to understand that they're still really freaking good. But they were elite, elite, elite last year. And just across the board, amazing. So I think that's going to be the interesting part of it all. We're going to find out in 2 weeks. Like, where does this thing stand? Because I'm so excited for this game. I don't know why, but my gut says Oklahoma plays really well. But we'll find out. As far as just your expectations for Hawkins this game, where do they stand? Like, what do you think he has to do outside of not turning the ball over and playing smart? You know, the bland answer. What does he
Well,
have to do?
here's the thing. Like, I don't necessarily want to create expectations that are overly lofty, but I've said it all week. I'll continue to say it. I get the sense that that kid's going to come out and play the game of his life
I said the same
because
thing on the
yeah,
first
well,
practice
yeah,
blitz.
and
Yeah.
because I know how much this game means to him. This
Mhm.
opportunity in his hometown against this specific opponent, there is more of a motivation factor for this game than there may ever be in Hawkins' collegiate career. I don't know what it'll bring, but he's going to be the first true freshman in program history to start against Texas.
Hmm.
And you come in as the heavy, heavy underdog with something to prove. One start under your belt to this point. Man, this is set up very nicely for a storybook performance from Michael Hawkins.
Hmm.
And I again, I don't necessarily want to create the expectation that that'll happen because he is still a true freshman, and I don't want him to have a solid performance. He completes 65% of his passes, throws a couple touchdown passes, and they lose the game, and then everybody's disappointed after the fact because they thought he was going to light the world on fire. Like, keep
Yeah.
in mind, this is still a true freshman. I would say keep expectations modest, but I can say that and also pair it with the belief, the genuine belief that this kid is going to go turn in a very memorable performance against the Longhorns in the Cotton Bowl, because I've seen this guy rise to the occasion time and again over the years, regardless of the circumstances. I know what he's capable of. And man, and maybe this is me trying to speak it into existence, because it would be the coolest thing in the world for a true freshman to go and do something like that in such a historic moment for him and for the program,
Mhm.
as you have a guy that young starting at quarterback in this football game. But man, that's just the gut feeling I have. I think it's going to be a special performance from Michael Hawkins. The question becomes, is it good enough to win? Because I can recall a time, Brandon, when on the other side of the aisle, there was a quarterback for the University of Texas that made a start in this football game. And there were a lot of subplots there that was just gonna they going into that game, you knew, okay, it's gonna be really, really cool if he pops off and plays amazing football and turns in the performance of a lifetime. And that was Casey Thompson in
And he
2021.
did it.
And he did it and then some.
Mhm.
And it wasn't good enough because
Mhm.
Caleb Williams outdid him by one play, one drive.
Mhm. That still is one of the most epic games. It probably is. I know everybody wants to say last year's game, but I still think the Caleb Williams game is still the coolest game of all time when it comes to OU Texas. I don't know why.
I think it will always be.
Yeah.
I don't like I've never watched a football game that good at any level, let alone covered one. To be there in that building on that day, that is for me journalistically the experience of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Nothing ever has, and I don't know that anything ever will compare to that.
I think mine was because mine was ruined last year. The moment was ruined when I said, you know what I'm talking about. When I said, "Oh my," you weren't in there, but you heard the story. I'm
Oh
not going to
yes,
name
yes,
the
I know the
name.
story.
I said, and Jesse can vouch, there was no cheering going on. I said, "Oh my God," exactly in that tone when Dylan Gabriel threw it because I thought he was getting sacked. I turned to Jesse. I go, "How did he get that out of there?" And that was my response. And then somebody, I'm not going to, comes over and says, "I'm going to give you some advice. You cannot cheer," and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, everybody around me looked and were like, "What?" He said, "Oh my God." Like everybody said something at that point. But this person just beelined right at me. And just was, it is what it is, but it kind of ruined the moment. So I take probably that's another reason why the Caleb Williams stuff. And I think the relationship stuff that people still hound me about with the Williams stuff. So make it kind of cool. But um, I I agree with you with Hawkins. I said it in the post practice blitz. You kind of let me do the talking on it then. Um, but yeah, I there's something about it, and I equated all of this back to Jamel Holloway and Troy Aikman situation, even though obviously Jackson Arnold didn't break his leg or anything like that, which is very good that that didn't happen. But Jamel came in the biggest game up to like the first four games of the year, right? When they played Miami, right? And that was supposed to be like this big, how good is Oklahoma, all that type of stuff in 1985. And they end up losing. Similarly, like Oklahoma by two scores. And then they struggle the next game, like Oklahoma did at Auburn, but somehow come up with a win when they played, I think it was Minnesota or something like that. People are going to fact check me on that. Whatever. I was two. I'm just going off of what I've been told my whole life how this thing played out and what I've seen through videos and stuff like that. Um, but this freshman came in and just started getting better and better and better with each start. And they beat Texas, a very good Texas team at that point. Um, so I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm not saying Oklahoma's winning a national title. I'm not doing any of that stuff. I'm just saying that there is some similarities with the arm that Arnold had. The expectation Arnold had was very similar to Troy Aikman. I'm not professing he's going to be Troy Aikman later on down the line either. Like I've none of this. I'm just saying there are some similarities there that you can point back to and say, okay, we've seen this before. Now let's see if it works. Now, obviously, um, there's the flip side of it, right? And I think Hawkins is going to play out of his mind. But there's that what if, right? What if they have to, what if something happens, all that? Do they go to Thompson or do they go back to Arnold? BV kind of hinted that they may go back to Arnold in the post practice presser the other day. Does that surprise you? Because I'm under the belief you got to go Thompson, right? At least give him a shot.
I think it has to be Casey Thompson,
Yeah, right.
Brandon. And that creates another interesting question. Like if you do have reason to call Jackson Arnold's number, does he go in the football game? And I don't know the answer to that question, Brandon. I
Yes, you
truly
do.
don't because I well, on the one hand, you would figure a competitor like Jackson Arnold, he's going to go in there and try to win you a football game, right? But by the same token, he wasted an entire year of eligibility for
Mm-hmm.
5 games
Needs to keep his
last
red
season.
shirt.
And if he plays another snap this year, if he plays another snap, he loses this year of eligibility as well. And wherever he might go next, and I think it is safe to assume he's probably going somewhere else at season's end at this point. Uh, he only has 2 years of eligibility, and
Which
so if if his number gets called, or you have reason to call his number, is he going to go back out there again? I don't know.
would
I don't
it
know
would
because
it
I understand both sides of it, right?
yeah.
Like if I'm Jackson Arnold, if I'm trying to put myself in that headspace, on the one hand, I can say, okay, yeah, like screw it, forget it. Like I can go somewhere for 2 years, light it up, and be off to the NFL, and I can afford to burn this year of eligibility. I'm going to go make my mark, and I'm going to show this program and this fan base that they have not seen the last of me. But also, I can see from the other viewpoint where you're sitting there thinking, man, I burned my red shirt last year to come in a game for a team that at that point was clinging to a very minuscule chance of playing for a conference championship, let alone a berth in the playoff. Man, why would if I know I'm not the guy here moving forward, and this is Michael Hawkins' team and Michael Hawkins' program, then why would I go burn another year of eligibility only to inevitably leave at season's end for a program that I believed in and that believed in me, but one way or another things just haven't worked out.
Let me be the devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Considering Arnold, and I agree with you. I want first and foremost let me state that I agree that he's probably going to transfer. Okay, like let's make that clear. Um, but from a devil's advocate standpoint, what if he Jalen Hurts this?
Mm, yeah, that's a version of Jalen Hurts that OU fans probably don't remember. Alabama fans sure do. And of course, what Brandon's referring to is the 2018 SEC championship game where
Mm.
Jalen Hurts has been riding the bench all season after he himself was benched for Tua Tagovailoa.
Well,
And then all of a sudden,
um,
Tua goes out. Jalen leads Alabama back to a victory against Georgia.
yeah, I'm not really, yeah, that I guess, but I'm more saying, what if he sticks it out? Like, remember, he's set for 2 years behind Tua. Just sat there, chilled.
No, he only sat 1 year.
Well, one, but I mean, I guess, yeah, he got pulled in the national title game the year before, but yeah. Um, but he set that whole year. What if Jackson sets this year, red shirts, sets next year, Hawkins leaves and he just becomes the dude for 2 years and becomes the Arnold that we all expected him to be at some point because
Yeah,
that's what
well, I
he
mean, at
wanted to
this
do.
point, like if
If he
Hawkins
does
is your
that
starting
though,
quarterback, well,
he'd
that
be the most beloved quarterback in history if he
the
stuck it
timeline
out.
doesn't work out though. The timeline doesn't
I
work
know.
out. If even if a 5-star quarterback were willing to bide his time for that long, even if it plays out exactly the way that you speculated, Brandon, Arnold's got 1 year at that
That's for
point,
one
and
year.
it's
Yeah.
2027. That is
Yeah.
forever in the future.
I know.
I don't think there's any way the
He's
kid's just
not
going to sit
doing
on
it.
his
I'm
hands for
just
that
trying
long.
to play.
Yeah,
I'm trying to have fun. I know he's not going to do it. I wouldn't if I was him. But I'm just saying, what if if that did happen, it would be refreshing, honestly, to see that in these times when it's just so easily accessible to just go, well, I'm going somewhere else and there's no repercussions for me. And probably going to get paid more because I'm going somewhere else. Um, but he does have the character. Like, I think people need to understand that even if he leaves, if there was one guy, if there was one guy outside of probably Michael Hawkins, ironically, that would actually sit there and bide their time, it would be Jackson Arnold on the team, right? Ironically, both the quarterbacks, those are the two dudes that would do it. If there was anybody that was going to do it on the team, it would be those two. Would you agree with that?
yeah, okay, sure, yeah.
Personality wise,
I mean,
just
I think if you're gonna wait around for that long, then there also has to be like a genuine love for the university there,
yeah.
and there are other guys like I think of an Eric McCarty,
Well,
for
yeah,
instance, that would
McCartney. Well,
qualify.
I'm talking
But
about that are at that level. Like McCarty's been hurt the whole time, so that's been an unfortunate part for him. I'd probably say Ethan Downs is another guy that would do it.
oh
Probably.
yeah,
That was it. Yeah. So, and obviously Danny Stutzman because he chose to stay at Oklahoma instead of go to USC. So, I'm just saying, like at quarterback, ironically, that you have two of those guys. That's a rare commodity to have two guys that they like.
well, and you
It,
actually have three guys. I will say that
yeah,
because
Casey. Yeah.
well, no, not Casey. I'm talking about Brendan Zurbrugg because you got Casey for this year certainly, but then he's done. Zerb is a guy that and I've said it before, but I truly do believe Oklahoma is going to need him at some point down the line. And the great
Hmm.
thing about having that kid wait in the wings is he's very athletically capable. He's a hard worker, very intelligent, and he's in no hurry. And he's not a me first type of dude. He believes he's at Oklahoma for a reason, and in the meantime, he's going to work as hard as he needs to work to get himself on the field eventually, whether that comes next year or 3 years from now. And so that is a very valuable commodity to have on your depth chart at quarterback as well. A guy that is willing to just sit there and bide his time and not try to go 120 miles an hour to
Right.
try and get on the football field.
No, it's a great commodity to have. Let's move over. We've got another what 8 days to talk about OU Texas. So
We do.
let's move over to recruiting.
Okay.
Do we want to discuss Floyd Boucard or just not at
I don't know.
all with
He's a
him?
Trojan, Brandon. It is what it is. I
Mm-hmm.
think there's probably a pretty solid consensus understanding of what went down there.
Mm, there's more to it. I honestly, for those that are not members of OU Insider VIP, we do this deal. Parker and I both will do this. We do a post National Signing Day mailbag, and it's usually in February because that's when everybody's on campus and you don't really have to worry about repercussions or anything like that of
So what Brandon's
divulging
saying
more
here,
into it.
what Brandon's saying here is ask him about Floyd Boucard post NSD.
Yeah, it is a story, and it's a story that you're going to want to hear, but you got to be a member of OU Insider to do it because it is. Mm, mm. NIL's dirty, bro. NIL's dirty. And we'll leave it at that, and you guys can divulge. But it's a story that you'll want to hear, I promise you, down the line because it's I don't think I've ever heard something like this before. So it's a one of a kind so far as this goes. I'm sure it's happened elsewhere, but not at Oklahoma yet. So um let's talk about Kaleb Burns, Baylor commit out of Houston, Cypress Falls,
I mean, I'll just,
linebacker, 4 star, or he's 3 star. He's soon to be a 4 star, I'm assuming, the way he's been playing
oh, yeah.
and how he's been moving up, and everybody's starting to come after that kid as well. Um, Go ahead. I'll let you dive into
I
what you
mean,
know.
this one's been in the works for a while. Oklahoma was building a relationship long before they offered him officially this past, oh gosh, what was it? Monday, Tuesday? It was early this week. And I put up a note at OUinsider.com like 10 minutes after Kaleb Burns got the offer, just letting people know, hey, I expect this kid in OU's class. And I do, Brandon. Um, there's a lot of boxes that Oklahoma checks for him. The regionality is one. This is a kid for whom proximity matters. And it
Mhm.
doesn't take a Rhodes Scholar to look at that situation at Baylor right now and conclude that someone is on the chopping block at season's end. And given how close Dave Aranda was to meeting his demise as Baylor's head coach last offseason, you would have to conclude that he is not employed by Baylor University in 2025. He may not be employed by Baylor University come November. And so that class is going to scatter to the winds. There are some very talented football players in that cast, of whom Kaleb Burns is certainly not the least. Oklahoma needs a
No,
linebacker.
there's
They
a
have
running
one
back too.
linebacker.
It's really, really good from Paul's Valley. It's committed there.
Yes, indeed. There's only one linebacker committed in Oklahoma's class right now. It's Marcus James. And I think you and I both share the opinion, Brandon, that he may be more of an edge guy than a true off
Mm.
ball linebacker in the long run. So the Sooners have a very obvious need there. Moreover, Oklahoma's linebacker play to this point in the 2024 season has been very strong. If you're a young linebacker and you're looking for a place where you can mesh with the scheme and be developed and excel, Oklahoma looks like one of those spots right now, does it not?
Yep.
And you have Oregon in the mix, you have Ole Miss in the mix. Look, I've been told flat out, Brandon, that both those schools and their locations probably mean that they're out of the question for Kaleb Burns. He's going to visit both places. He's going to give them an opportunity, but it's going to be very difficult for a school from outside the I-35 corridor to be able to pull Kaleb Burns away. That sets Oklahoma up very well. There's an unofficial visit scheduled for the South Carolina game. There will be an official visit later in the season. I think he's a member of OU's 2025 class, Brandon.
Ooh, that would be an interesting get. I like it. Look, and I'm a big Marcus James guy. I think Marcus James is going to be a flat out superstar at Oklahoma when it's all said and done. Athletically, work ethic, range, size, like that is a uh, Marcus James to me has a similar body structure of Danny Stutzman. Just big, long, rangy. Like he's a legit 6'4" linebacker. Now, here's what I do think about Marcus James and what I noticed at the Rivals camp is I think he ends up being a stand-up jackbacker before it's all said and done. Like he's going to be an edge rusher for Oklahoma. Probably play that Sam Jack, and I know that Sam's more of a cover guy and that's not his strength, but I'm talking about kind of a blitzing outside backer type guy. So, um, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting how they do that because I think OU knows that Marcus James is more of an outside guy than he is an inside backer, at least right now. At least right now, because he was unblockable at that Rivals 5 star. I mean, he
He's a
was
good pass rusher.
unblockable. Oh my God, is he good? Um, Speaking of pass rushing, the 2026 class, is loaded with top tier defensive linemen. Just absolutely, it is deep. It's much like 2024, right? Like it is deep, deep, deep on that defensive line class. And there is a particular player in Georgia who is arguably the top defensive tackle in the country that continues to show up to the University of Oklahoma. Now, granted, he visited OU for the Tennessee game, and I'm talking about Deuce Geralds, 2026 five-star defensive tackle out of Georgia. He visited Alabama directly after for the Alabama Georgia game, and look, that's going to be a problem. Alabama's going to be a problem for Oklahoma. But here's the good news: is there's a really good chance he's at OU Texas next weekend. Really good chance. And there's a really good chance that he's at OU Alabama as well later on this year. Parker, that would be 3 games that Gerald decides to show up on his own accord after visiting Oklahoma this summer as well.
Yeah, well, and by no means am I making any promises, nor are you making any promises that OU
No.
lands the kid, Brandon. But what is undeniable is that dudes aren't going that far out of their way to visit a place unless they are genuinely serious about continuing
Mm-hmm.
their football career there. That tells you if OU ain't the leader for Deuce Geralds, they are right there in the peloton.
There, let's just say there are some people that believe Oklahoma is going to be difficult to beat for this because Mama and Daddy love Todd Bates.
Are you
Love
one of those people?
Todd Bates. Huh?
Are you one of those people that believe that? Ole Miss legacy, right?
He's an Ole Miss. That's my reservation because Ole Miss is in it still, but they don't really push for high school kids. I think that's kind of the other deal.
Oh, Portal King Lane Kiffin, huh?
Yeah. And I think they
Yeah,
see
man.
that. Like look, when I talked to him, he made it very clear to me that Oklahoma, Alabama, and everybody's sitting here waiting for Georgia has not offered. So unless they offered over the week and I missed it, they've not offered. So you have Oklahoma, Alabama, who I think are probably your top two with the Ole Miss, LSU, Ohio State kind of rounding this thing out right now. Auburn's trying to stay in this. Obviously, Hughes Freeze is a great recruiter. Location wise, it fits up great for him. It's 2 hours from his house, right? Hour 45 minutes. But again, we were at that Rivals 5-star in Jacksonville, and I'll never forget his mom. Like we had no, remember, we had no clue Oklahoma was even in it at the time. And she read my shirt. It said OU Insider, and she goes, "You cover Oklahoma?" And you were standing right there. And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Ooh, we love Todd Bates. We're going to be there here in a few weeks." And we both looked at each other like, "Wait, what?" And this dude just won the MVP,
Uh-huh.
right? For the defensive line. So Parker and I are going, "Hold on, what?" And so um we start talking and they just glow and glow and glow. Well, lo and behold, he's been there before. He quietly showed up in the winter for a junior day and had been to a game the year before. And we didn't even know about it because we didn't know Deuce Geralds was really all that much. And now he is a big, big story for Oklahoma recruiting. So this will be 4 or 5 times that the kid's been to Oklahoma, maybe 6 when it's all said and done by the end of the year, which is huge. If you're going to, like you said, if you're going to spend that much time and that much money traveling back and forth to Norman, this has a very Derek LeBlanc feel to it, right?
Mm.
Where you have all these close proximity programs that you visit quite a bit, but if
Then
you
there's
visit
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma once, that equals like 3 visits to Alabama, right? Where it's right down the street. Well, if you do it 6 times, that's like going to Oklahoma like 18 times. within a span of 2 years and shows you're in on this. And I'll say this, Deuce Gerald flat told me over the phone the other day, I'm taking an official visit. I don't have it set, but I'm going to take an official visit. So the way things, he said, the way things stand right now, I will take an official visit. So that's interesting. And we'll see how things work out. We'll see if he does make it to the OU Texas game. I'm going to talk to him next week, or probably this weekend, actually, to get a better feel if that's been confirmed one way or the other. But he did say that regardless, he 100% will be at one of those games. He would like to hit both, and the expectation is to do both, but he wants to do one for sure. So that's still 2 games in one season from Atlanta, Georgia. That's a trip, Parker. So if you're an OU fan, get to know the name Deuce Geralds of the 2026 class. And that's not too far behind. That's coming up next. Um, there's also some things in the works. I think I'm allowed to say this.
Okay.
It's not, I know that there are people in Jaden O'Neill's camp, the potential 5-star quarterback in 2026 to commit, OU commit, right? Of them looking at playing a potential game in Oklahoma next year. They're working on it. They're like trying to make calls. They're doing this, they're doing that. They're like really trying to work on this stuff to make it happen. So that will be interesting to see if that takes place, scheduling wise, if they can make it happen. Because I think that would be really cool to have an OU quarterback commit from California come in and play an in-state team. And they want to play it. They would like to play it as close to Norman as possible if they could. So we'll see. We'll see if it takes place. Um, is there anything else going on in
Not
25 recruiting?
No, not really. As far as 25 goes, there's not all that
Trent
much. I mean,
Wilson is
Kaleb
having a
Burns,
hell of a year.
well, you'd expect as much from that kid. He's going to be a
Defensive
monster.
tackle. Yeah.
I'll tell you, I went to see Felix Ojo last night, 4-star 2026 offensive tackle from Mansfield Lake
Mm,
Ridge. Starting to get some Michael Susi vibes there in the sense that, hey, I think he's a guy that's going to be given heavy 5-star consideration.
yeah.
And also, he likes both OU and Texas a lot. So, might be a similar battle shaping up there for one of the nation's premier offensive tackles. But we'll have all of that covered at OUinsider.com as it unfolds.
I'm actually gonna um I believe I know that my son plays in Louisville tomorrow in an out of state game. Um so while I'm there, I'm gonna actually try to set up a meeting with Fasusi to see if we can't get some information on him. I know he's locked in, but I mean, just for the fans, for OU Insider, all that, YouTube, all that type of stuff. I'm gonna try to get some. I'm not making a promise, but try to get some things lined up there because we are playing, I think, right next to the high school, ironically. So um, that'll be cool. Yeah, man. Um, I think that'll do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. I want to wish a 1 year happy birthday to my daughter, Ava. She turns 1 today. Proud dad here. Um, being a girl dad's different, bro. So it is. It's weird. So I want to wish her a happy birthday. I know we got a bunch of family coming over today. So happy birthday to baby girl, Ava. Um, If you're not a member of OU Insider, it's $9.95 a month or $99.95 for the whole year. You can go over to ouinsider.com. You can sign up for free. And look, I always recommend just give us a try for a month. If you don't like it, whatever. But I can almost guarantee you're going to like it because there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of OU fans on there. And that board is popping right now. There is literally people commenting like by the minute, like boom, 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 threads. So you can start your own thread. You can start your own conversation. People come in there, boom, 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 and they'll start talking and debating with you and giving their opinion and all that. You can go back and forth with thousands of OU fans constantly on there, and it's fun, fun, fun. Parker and I are on there. I'm doing a VIP chat right now. We got VIP information going up daily, whether it's team recruiting stuff, basketball, football, baseball, softball. We've got you covered. The gambit is covered at OU Insider VIP. We've got that for you over there. And it is a very, very fun uh, community to be in. So $9.95 a month, $99.95 for the whole year. If you're a college student, listen to me closely. Email us from your .edu email. Just say, hey, I want that promo code, please, so I can get OU Insider for $11.95 for the whole year. That's one payment, $11.95. That's not even, doesn't even average out to $1 a month. All you have to do is email OU Insider at rivals.com. From your .edu, we will email you back with the promo code. Boom. You can sign up for a whole year at $11.95. That promo goes on continuously. So if you hear this later on down the line and you're like, oh, I want to do that, it's probably still going on. So just email us. We will take care of you if you're a college student. We always help people out too. If you're struggling financially, whatever, um, you know, we do what we can at times to help you guys out, to make sure you guys are taken care of, and still able to view the community. Obviously, if we feel like you're taking advantage of us, probably not going to happen. But if you genuinely are struggling and stuff like that, yeah, we will do our best to help you guys out because we want everybody a part of the community. We're community people. We love OU fans. We enjoy and thank you guys so much. Subscribe to this YouTube channel because it is very, very important. The more you subscribe, the better it helps us. The more subscribers we have, the better we can do for you guys. It helps us in an immense way. Like you guys do not understand. So thank you guys. I think we've grown by like almost 2,000 in the last month and a half. It's been ridiculous, Parker. So thank you, OU fans. Help us get up. I think we're almost to 17.5. Help us get up to 20,000. Please, 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 please. Just all you got to do is hit that subscribe button. It's free. No cost to you. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and subscribe to whatever podcast platform you listen to us on. It helps us out. I promise you, it helps us immensely. As long as you download the podcast, whatever, it's huge for us. Promise you, because we can continue to do what we're doing, and make the product better and better and better for you all. All right. That's going to do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. For Parker Thune, my name is Brandon Drum. You guys have a blessed day.